Nikki Campbell and Rachel Bird. Nikki has your call from 9 o'clock, of course. Now, today a charity is launching a scheme in London which it hopes can play a part in building bridges in communities. DePaul, a homeless charity, wants to recruit members of the public who are willing to offer a room to a young person who would otherwise be on the streets. Megan Reid is from the charity. Paul Rogers lives in Eltham and has been hosting young homeless people for the last couple of years. Morning to both of you.
Morning, Rachel.
Megan, tell us how it works. You're not talking about taking in a teenager permanently.
Actually, we've got a full range of services. So Night Stop provides emergency accommodation one night at a time to young people who would otherwise sleep rough. And then we have supported lodgings, which provides longer term accommodation to the same people who may have never experienced a safe family home. They could stay for 6 months to 2 years and would become your lodger. And in that time, hopefully they would learn the skills to live independently through role modelling.
Paul, tell us a bit about how you've been involved in this, what your experiences have been.
I think for us, it was the opportunity to do something to help. There's been a lot of talk about rights, and yet what we sometimes miss is the responsibility that we all have. So the opportunity to stop someone going out onto the streets, particularly between the ages of 18 and 25, for us as a family was really important. And so we've had some great experiences. We go to the station somewhere between 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night to meet someone, and I think they're far more scared than we are usually. And then they come, they have dinner with us. Sometimes they stay with the family. We will either play a game or watch a movie together, and then we give them breakfast in the morning and off they go.
Were there any concerns? Security is my immediate thought, you know, if you have young children in the family, for example.
We've got two boys, 8 and 10 years old, and that's always the question we're asked about security. We've never had any problems. I think it's important to remember that the people coming to Night Stop are actually asking for help. These young people are vulnerable. Their world has suddenly disintegrated. They've lost somewhere to stay. Sometimes a relationship has broken down. Sometimes they've lost a job. And so they're asking for help. And so for us to say, yes, we'll help, we'll provide a room, is a great opportunity.
Megan, do you vet the young people? Do you vet the homes that they go to?
Absolutely, yeah. So both host households and the young people are thoroughly vetted and risk assessed, and then matched very carefully with each other. And obviously it's completely voluntary on both sides.
You would need something like a spare room, presumably. You would have to give them their own room, would you?
Absolutely, yeah. You need to have a spare bedroom and willingness to help, and that's about it.
So not everyone would be able to offer that, but it might be that people, for example, when their children have left home, they might be in a position to. And is it?
Yeah.
Paul obviously does it with his family. Are you looking for families in particular? Does it really matter?
No, we're really, really open-minded. We like our hosts to be as varied as the young people who we support. So. Individuals, couples, families, any career occupation, any race, any sexuality, anything, as long as you would like to help and you have a spare bedroom, yeah.
Is there any financial contribution? How long, for example, is the longest stay that you've had, Paul?
Well, Night Stop only works for the one night.
Right.
Just occasionally the young person is allowed to stay an extra night, but that's really what Megan is launching today, is something that will stay longer. Perhaps for a couple of weeks or even up to a couple of years. Night Stop really is just plugging that one night. So in terms of volunteering, it's not asking a lot. It's that spare room. Each month we do a rota and we say the nights that we are available, and then somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon maybe we get a phone call and they say, are you still able to host tonight? And we say yes or no.
Yeah. And just
in terms of finances, then our volunteers for Night Stop get £15 a night expenses, which is to cover the cost of meal, any laundry that they do, using the shower. And then supported lodgings hosts, the longer term hosts, receive rent for their room and small income for the support that they provide.
And it really can make a difference to the lives of young people.
Can totally change people's lives. We have hosts who've gone on to become godparents, go attend graduations, lifelong friends.
Just a website people can go to, or somewhere that people can contact if they want to find out more?
Yeah, please do. It's www.depaul.uk.org/supported lodgings London.
Okay, depaul.co.uk is probably the easiest way to get to it, which is
depaul.org.
Depaul.org. Okay, DEPAUL. Thank you very much to both of you, Megan Reid and Paul Rogers.
Thank you.
8:43.
And your call. It's your call. Education.
The recovery of the footballer
Fabrice Muamba, who collapsed and almost died on the pitch just over a week ago, is being used by charities to try to draw attention to sudden deaths of young people from heart disorders and the need for defibrillators to save lives. Fabrice Muamba is reported to be talking, eating and watching television, even though his heart stopped beating for more than an hour. Doctors treating him say that he was given 15 shocks in total, 3 of them from a defibrillator at the Tottenham ground. Well, the Oliver King Foundation is one of the charities. It was set up to honour the memory of Oliver King. He died at King David High School in Liverpool in March last year. He was 12. Jake Morrison's a patron of the fund. He's the Liverpool City Councillor for Wavertree, where Oliver's family lives. Councillor Morrison, then tell us then what happened to Oliver.
Hi, Winifred.
Hello.
12 months ago in March 2011, Oliver King went to King David High School in my ward of Wavertree and had a swimming lesson at midday. He was winning the race and sadly had a cardiac arrest underwater, and his teacher had to go in and get him, and there was no defibrillator on site, and sadly a few hours later Oliver never survived and died at Alderday Hospital in the evening. But he died of sudden arrhythmic death syndrome, and the family had to wait 6 weeks before he could have a funeral because they had to obviously do post-mortem tests on Oliver's body.
Now, I know that you and the family believe his life might have been saved if there had been a defibrillator at the swimming pool. Why do you think that?
Because we know from Fabrice's tragic collapse on Saturday 2 weeks ago that cardiac arrests are common in fit active young people, and a defibrillator, CPR alone may not be good enough. So a defibrillator is there as a chance. It's another piece of life-saving equipment that doesn't cost much. So he at least had some sort of chance of being resuscitated by a defibrillator if it was used within about 4 minutes. Is what medical professionals say is the correct time.
Well, your charity, in Oliver's memory, has an e-petition going where people can register their support for the idea of a defibrillator for every school. The main charity in this area is called SADS, and that stands for Sudden Arrhythmic Death Syndrome. It's the name given to sudden death in young people from heart failure. And Anne Jolly is from that charity. And how common is this?
Well, as you just sadly heard, Oliver King died last year during a swimming lesson, and it's actually estimated that about 270 children die each year at school. And we believe, as the Oliver King Foundation do, that by having a defibrillator at school, some of these tragic deaths may be prevented.
Now, you've had a similar e-petition going since 2007 to try to persuade the government to equip every school with a defibrillator. How much progress would you say you've made?
We've made good progress. Of course, there's been a change of government and NHS systems since that time. But things are moving forward because over the years we've been able to make people aware of the capability of defibrillators and their ability to save lives, because years ago people didn't know necessarily what a defibrillator was.
How much does one... Sorry to interrupt. How much does one cost?
Well, they're only around £1,000. Much the same sort of price as a computer. It's really a drop in the ocean as far as we're concerned.
An obvious objection to spending money on them would be that they're no use unless everyone knows how to use them.
Well, in actual fact, they've sophisticated over the years. They've become so refined, and they actually talk people through the process. So if somebody opens up a defibrillator, it will first of all ask them to call the emergency services, and of course they respond as quickly as they possibly can. But in the meantime, it will be telling the person what to do and how to resuscitate that person.
Let's see what that sounds like, because we've been and recorded that.
Call for help now. Remove all clothing from patient's chest. Peel one pad off blue plastic. Apply pad to bare skin, exactly as shown in the picture. Apply pad to bare skin, exactly as shown in the picture. Press pad firmly. Do not touch patient. Evaluating heart rhythm. Stand by. Preparing to shock. Everyone clear. Press flashing button. Shock delivered. Provide chest compressions and rescue breaths.
So the instructions are pretty clear, but what is it like to use one? Our reporter Simon Browning had a go.
Pull red handle to open bag.
Okay, well, we've called 999, so I'm going to pull the red handle to open this bag.
Look at pictures on pads.
Now, there's pictures.
Peel one pad off blue plastic.
Wow, it's very quick. Move me along.
One pad to bare
Whoa.
skin. Exactly.
God, it's just a test event, is this? And I'm already feeling quite tense and I'm sweating. So I peeled the blue pad off. I put the yellow pad on the top of the chest. And I peeled the...
Pad to bare
Okay.
Exactly as shown in the picture.
Okay, so it's going down under the arm, the red pad. Whoa! I'm feeling quite intense. Okay, I think both are on. They're in the right place.
From patient's chest.
All the clothes are off. I'm going to move back.
Touch patient.
Claire, you're from the London Ambulance Service. How was that? I mean, I found it very intense and actually feel quite nervous after it.
Yeah, that's quite normal. So you can imagine what it would be like for real. The defibrillator is actually set up to be quite simplistic in the way it talks to you and very clear instructions in explaining how to use it. Just because there's a lot of pressure at the time, there's a lot of emotions are running high, there's often quite a lot of people around. So even the fact that you're being watched sometimes puts pressure on you as well.
Jake Morrison, you can see that schools might feel there's no point buying a defibrillator that hopefully will never be used, and that it isn't realistic to keep everyone up to speed with the training. It just wouldn't happen in real life.
Well, Winifred, funny enough, I've just had a phone call from another school in my ward, Chilwell Sports College. They've arranged a meeting with the Oliver King Foundation next week to take up the offer of defibrillators. They're self-maintaining them, I believe, for 2 years. They do self-battery checks, they do self-checks. They have, obviously, a member of staff checks them each week manually anyway. And the first aid training can be provided as part of the annual training that all staff have, not just public sector staff. It could be provided as that. It could be provided as an advanced first aid certificate with the first aiders that you have in buildings. But the thing is that, public buildings are community hubs. If there was an accident outside of a library or a sports centre, that you could go in and get this first aid box because you urgently need it. But if someone had a collapse on the high street, you do not know where you can go for a defibrillator, and they are the key life-saving equipment that could ensure someone's life is saved.
And Jolly, as I said, a defibrillator was used on Fabrice Muamba. But how do you know when it's suitable? Because doctors say that it wasn't that restarted his heart. In fact, it was drugs that did that, that were administered to him in the ambulance and later on in hospital. So he survived, really, didn't he, because of a whole array of things that would just happen to be ready and waiting there, not least a cardiologist who was in the crowd. You couldn't have all that in place in school.
No, but I firmly believe that the early defibrillation contributed to the successful outcome. I think it's absolutely crucial. And in actual fact, the International Committee on Resuscitation have stated, and that was over 10 years ago now, that CPR coupled with early defibrillation is the most powerful combination to save a life.
How would you know who needed it and who didn't?
Well, you wouldn't need to with an automated external defibrillator. Once the pads are adhered to the person who's had a cardiac arrest, it will assess the heart rhythm. And it physically will not give a shock unless it absolutely has to, unless the person is in ventricular fibrillation and it has the need to give them a shock.
Why hasn't it happened then, if it's such common sense?
Well, this is what we find very difficult to believe. We started putting defibrillators in schools where we knew there was a child with a cardiac condition, and this was quite some years ago. However, sadly, we began to be contacted by our parents after their child had died, and they'd had no prior warning to their sudden cardiac arrest. So it actually became crystal clear that defibrillators needed to be on school premises, just in readiness for exactly this life-threatening emergency.
And Jolly, from SADS UK, Councillor Jake Morrison from the Oliver King Foundation. Thanks both.